grasslands are there. That's why they have a lot of population of the cattle over there. It is characterized by low or uneven uh, rainfall. Grassland structure, they also have biotic and abiotic components. The producers of the grass, shrubs, forbs, etc. Consumers are the cow, buffalo, deer, I would say even sheeps, etc. Decomposers are the fungi and bacteria. And abiotic factors are the physical factors where rainfall, light, and temperatures matter. Chemical factors are organic and inorganic matter in the soil nutrient. Grassland ecosystem are influenced over time by local climate, the climate in the area where they are formed. The plants, they have a different species of plants in this area. Variations in local landscapes, it could be a sloping hill or it could be having a water body at the foot of the hill. Then disturbances such as fire and flood. Now it has been observed that due to global warming, these forest fires have become more rampant in these areas. And forest fires have been the single most destructive cause of the forest apart from the human activities. The organisms that live in them are also killed when the forest fire takes place. We have been seeing a lot of rescue mission in these areas. I mean, a forest fire, a fire in a forest, a common man in India is not really very much affected or bothered about it, I would say. But if you go to developed countries, they do realize that they are dependent on the forest for a lot of their things. And that's the reason they go out of their way to conserve these forests from the fires. So a lot of precautions are taken before the summer sets in. But in spite of that, you can see that these forest fires are becoming more rampant due to the global warming of the earth. Desert ecosystem. Now, a typical desert ecosystem consists of a lot of sand, and you'll find those cactus coming up in places where some water body is there, where near the oasis. So it is the region where evaporation exceeds the precipitation. The amount of rainfall and the amount of evaporation, that rainfall is scanty and evaporation is in high amount because of the sun's direct uh, rays falling on this area. So this desert area occupies almost about 35% of the world's land. So if this 35% of the world's land, many a times people try to convert part of this desert area into trees. Like there was a green mission where the deserts were converted with human interference into green lands. But later on, they have realized that they cannot actually cope up in converting the full desert, a huge area. And the studies have also revealed that if this whole desert is converted into a forest area by artificial means and what you call it as a human interference, then the whole ecosystem will get disturbed. So it is better not to interfere with it too much and leave it to as it is, because the deserts are also important for the climatic conditions and taking care of a lot of flora. I would not say flora, but at least fauna. Types of these desert ecosystem, they are also present in tropical areas, temperate areas, and polar areas. As Sahara Desert and Thar Desert are a classic example of tropical desert. And Mojave Desert is a classic example of temperate desert. And Gobi is the desert which is most famously known to be in the polar region. So, any idea where is this Sahara and Thar Desert? Which part of the
Africa and Rajasthan.
exactly? And what about Mojave? The name is typical African, sounds like African name, but it is in California. Okay, so it is not in the continent of California. Gobi Desert,
Mongolia.
Mongolia, exactly. They are, yes, it is in the northern China, which is again a southern uh, border of the Mongolian area. So it is between China and Mongolia on the which is overlapping. Some part is in China, some part is in Mongolia. Then desert ecosystem, the characteristics of this system is it is having a dry air and climate is hot. The evenings become cool very fast. That means the fluctuation in temperature is quite a lot. Annual rainfall is less than 25 centimeters. Soil is very nutrient and organic in matter. Vegetation is poor. See, sometimes too rich soil is also not good for growth of the plants. So if there are too many minerals like magnesium or you can even call it as phosphates present in the soil, then this soil will not support life for the plants. Again, desert ecosystem also has biotic and abiotic factors. Producers are shrubs, bushes, few trees, and consumers are squirrel, mice, rabbits. Decomposers. Decomposers in all sorts of ecosystem are generally fungi and bacteria. And abiotic components are the rainfall, light, temperature, and chemical factors are organic and inorganic matters. Aquatic ecosystem. We are talking about now, we know it is broadly classified into freshwater ecosystem and saltwater ecosystem. And aquatic ecosystem is associated with freshwater is the ponds, the lakes, the rivers, the streams, and saltwater is the oceans and the estuaries. Just hello, sir. Good morning. Good morning. So I was describing about the pond, lake, river uh, ecosystems, which are generally associated with the rainwater. Fresh water means it has to be rainwater, which percolates into the ground and becomes the groundwater, and the level, the table of this groundwater rises during the monsoon and reduces during the summertime. Salt water is associated with oceans and estuaries, which are found near the banks or rather near the coastal area. Now, communities of organisms that are dependent on each other and on their environment life in aquatic ecosystem are found in these water bodies. So this, since the ecosystem is in the water, like I told you, the ocean ecosystem, there are several ecosystems at layers, different levels or different depths to be more precise. And we can study only few of them which are on the surface or a few meters below the water. Pond ecosystem. there's small bodies of fresh water with shallow and still water. Marshy lands are there and aquatic plants grow near this. They can be further divided into four zones: vegetation zone, open water zone, bottom mud zone, and surface film. So since there is a depth of water in the pond also, you will see at the peripheries of this pond there is a lot of vegetation because water is available in abundance. Open water is the surface area where the water is accumulated, and bottom mud is where the sediments are there, where at the bottom of the pond, there also different ecosystems exist. And surface film, that is just below the surface of the water, you will find at different depth, you will find a different ecosystems. Size and depth of ponds often varies greatly. Now, there are man-made ponds also, there are natural ponds also, and that's why you will see the size is not consistent. They vary greatly with time of the year when the level of the water goes down and up. Like, for example, in the summer, the water evaporation is so fast that the drop in the water level will be readily visible to whoever is observing it carefully. Many ponds are produced by spring flooding from rivers. Now, what happens when the rivers become over flooded? I mean, they come to their brim, they start overflowing from there. Okay, and when they have become, when they start overflowing, these small ponds are created in the near vicinity where the water flows in the form of spring. Food webs are based both on free floating algae and upon aquatic plants. In fact, even the aquarium fish, yesterday somebody said he has an aquarium. You must, before you buy the fish for your aquarium, you must study about them. Okay. There are books available for that, there are videos available. Certain types of fish will feed on the food which is on the surface of the water. Okay. There are certain fishes which will eat food what is dropped on the bottom of the pond or river, and there are fishes which will feed in between that, in the middle area. They don't come on the surface, rather they don't go to the bottom, they remain in that level. So that this is how the different depth ecosystem develop, or in fact because of their types, because of their habits, they have uh, been part of different ecosystem. Uh, the one way is by their feeding mechanism. There is usually a diverse array of aquatic life with a few examples including algae, snails, fish, beetles, water bugs, frogs, turtles, other otters, and muskrats. Now, depending upon what is the depth and how big is the pond, you will find that these animals are found in that area. Top predators may include large fish, herons, or even alligators at times. Since fish are a major predator uh, on amphibian larvae, ponds that dry up each year, thereby killing resident fish, provide important uh, refugia for the amphibian breeding. Now, if you stay for the whole year in the hostel in TMI, you'll find that small pond which is there in the campus. It dries up completely at times in the summer, and you will see the bottom of the lake, where you will find a lot of birds coming up to feed on these fish larvae also. And these fish larvae, or for that matter, small fishes are also present. A lot of birds migrate from other places and they are looking for food during this time, because all over the place the water has level has gone down. And you will find that the snakes also are found in this water snakes at the bottom, which again thrive on these amphibians, which are now occupying this bottom part of the ponds. So here in the pictorial description, you will see that how the algae, the producer of phytoplankton, which are the producers, are being consumed by the primary consumers, and they become larvae. These larvae are food for the secondary consumers, that is the fish, and this fish can be food for the tertiary consumers like what we call the amphibians like turtles and tortoises. So again, these zones are repeated here: vegetation zone, open water, bottom mud, and surface zone. Pond ecosystem, the characteristics are it is temporary because the fluctuation of the level of the water. So it will go up and down the ecosystem, changes its characteristic as water fills up and as water dries. It is a stagnant freshwater body. It is not a free-flowing freshwater body because it's not a stream, it's not a river. It may be seasonal. In fact, it is seasonal because if the water dries up considerably, then there is not enough water to support certain types of aquatic life. Now you can see in the diagram, the sunlight again remains the primary source of energy from where the producers take the light and prepare the phytoplanktons. Primary consumers feed on these phytoplanktons, and the secondary consumers feed on the primary consumers, and tertiary consumers feed on the secondary consumers, and then the decomposers are always there after their lifespan is over. Lake ecosystem. Now, if you see in the lake, ecosystem can be divided into zones. Now, first thing, very simple and call it a question for you. What is the difference between a lake and a pond? Can anybody tell me? No idea.
So pond is artificial and lake is natural.
Not always, it is not always natural.
So also a pond is smaller in size
Yes,
than a lake.
that is the major difference. You know, the size of the water body, will describe it as a pond or a lake. Okay, so pond is generally shallow, and you will find that the lake is generally much deeper than the pond. Because and you will see that the lake will not have a lot of life as much as pond, because the sun's rays do not penetrate and they can't reach the bottom because of the deeper uh, waters. Okay, so main difference is the size. Even lakes will have larger surface area. That means they will be also broader, even not only deeper. The lake ecosystem can be divided into zones. One common system divides lakes into 3 zones. The first is the littoral zone, that is the shallow zone near the shore, where rooted wetland plants occur. The offshore zone is divided into 2 further zones, an open water zone and a deep water zone. In the open water zone, or it is also called as photic zone, sunlight supports photosynthesis because it can reach up to that depth in the open water, and photosynthesis for algae and species that feed upon it. In the deep water zone, that is aphotic zone, sunlight is not available. It cannot penetrate to the deeper level. And the food web is based on detritus entering from the littoral and photic zones. So the 2 zones, that is the shallow zones, are the zone shallow zone is also associated with the littoral zone and photic zones. The offshore area may be called the pelagic zone, and the aphatic zone, which is the deeper water zone, may be called as profundal zone. So you have to be careful about the names which are also meaning the same thing. Like, for example, now the pelagic zone is uh, called as offshore area, and the aphatic zone is called as profundal. So if the question comes about profundal zone, don't get confused. It is nothing different from aphatic zone. Inland from the littoral zone, one can also frequently identify a riparian zone, which has plants still affected by the presence of the lake. This can include effects from windfall, spring, flooding, and winter ice damage. You can see here littoral zone, open water zone, phatic zone, deep water zone, aphatic zone.
Yes, sir.
So what happens is phatic will support more life or more algae, more vegetation, and obviously we'll have more feeders present in that area. As you go deeper, the number of this life will species will reduce, and deeper. It is said to be that sun rays do not reach to certain depth at all, but still, you will find that there are species which are surviving in that deeper water also. And now, where do they get their energy from? Then? So they do come to the open water zone, get their energy, but they prefer to stay in the deep water zone. Lake ecosystem characteristics are: it is a shallow freshwater body, it is permanent water body, it helps in irrigation and drinking. Organisms like planktons, nectons, newstons, benthos, and periphytons are found in these areas. Now coming to the third type is the third type of the freshwater ecosystem is the river ecosystem. Now, river ecosystem is viewed as a system operating in the natural environment. Okay, the rivers are never man-made. Okay, they are always natural, and they include biotic, that is living interactions among plants, animals, and microorganisms, as well as abiotic, that is non-living physical and chemical interactions. So both are present in all the three ecosystems of the freshwater. River ecosystems are prime examples of lotic ecosystem. Lotic refers to flowing water. It's not stagnant water like pond or lake. Okay. From the Latin word lotus, it has been derived as lotic. River ecosystem characteristics are: flow is unidirectional, generally on a slope. Okay, the flow is due to the different gradient of the land from where the water is flowing, and it is generally on a slope, so it is always unidirectional. It does not flow against the gravity. There is a state of continuous physical change in the river ecosystem. There is high degree of spatial and temporal heterogeneity at all scales. That is, the micro habitats do what you call it as keep changing from high level to low level in this river system. Means with the flow of the water, they do go in that direction of the water, but there are some which go against the flow of the water also. Like I don't know whether you are aware of this pink salmon, which is found in the Northern American states. They do flow against the flow of the water in the and go to the hilly areas up to lay eggs. Variability between lotic system is quite high. The biota is specialized to live with flow conditions. So all these organisms and the plants, they have adapted. They have adapted to the flowing water over their roots, and the animals also prefer to be in this flowing water. So if the problem with this river ecosystem is that if the river dries up, then there is no flow of water. And all these species which are adapted to flowing water will not survive if there is no flowing water. Now coming to the salt water, that is the ocean ecosystem. Marine ecosystem are among the largest of the Earth's aquatic ecosystem. Obviously, because most of the water body is found in the oceans, and the number of species are also very high in this ecosystem because of the large area which it covers, and it is connected to each other. All the oceans are connected. You can see that also. So no wonder that these ecosystems have got more population. They include oceans, salt marsh, and intertidal ecology, estuaries and lagoons, mangroves and coral reefs, the deep sea and the sea floor. So up to the sea floor, depending on the depth of water available there, you can find different ecosystems at different level. They can be contrasted with freshwater ecosystem which have a lower salt content. Marine waters cover 2/3 of the surface of the earth. Such places are considered ecosystem because the plant life supports the animal's life and vice versa. Ocean ecosystem characteristics. Marine ecosystem are very important for the overall health of both marine and terrestrial environment. So not only for the marine environment, it is important from the point of view of terrestrial environments also. According to the World Resource Center, coastal habitats alone account for approximately 1/3 of all marine biological productivity. And estuarine ecosystem, that is salt marshes, sea grasses, mangrove forest, are amongst the most productive region on the planet. Now, there are people who eat the seaweeds also, okay, like Korean, Japanese, Chinese, these people. It is a delicacy for them, seaweeds. And for some living in the coastal areas, it is, we're talking about the people in the coastal areas, it is their staple diet also. Marine ecosystems such as coral reefs provide food and shelter to the highest level of marine diversity in the world. Marine ecosystems usually have a large biodiversity and are therefore thought to have a good resistance against invasive species. Ocean ecosystem structure. Now, just a pictorial representation of how one small cell of life can be magnified and seen as in the microscope. Then you have slightly larger ones, that is the shrimp-like creatures, and then you have the small fishes, the big fish, medium fish are the mackerels, the tuna are the bigger fishes, and the large sharks are the bigger fish. So you will see how this cell of the microorganism is actually the producer, okay? And that is eaten in turn by the shrimp-like creatures, which are in the form of larvae. These larvae are eaten by the small fish, which are in turn eaten by the medium fish, and the large fish depends on feeds on both the small as well as medium sized fish. And large sharks. Now, I have seen in some of the Discovery Channel videos that sharks don't only feed on large fish. Like in this picture, they have shown tuna. But if you see, at times the tuna may not be available for them. Like excessive fishing of tuna. Tuna is of great economical importance. They fetch a lot of money to the fishermen. So they all come during this season and they are all after the tuna fish. And sharks will not find their food, or at least not enough food. So they do directly sometimes feed on the small fish. So a swamp of small fishes, obviously they have to work hard to fill up their stomach, but they do go directly for small fishes also. So now that's bypassing the food chain, but these are the again reasons for the human activities which are causing them to do that. Types of zone associated with ocean ecosystem are the coastal zones, warm, nutrient-rich, shallow water, open sea, that is the deepest. Uh, Euphotic zone receives abundant light because it is not so deep, it is in the shallow waters and shows high photosynthesis activity. Bathyal zone, it receives dull light, and abyssal zone is the dark zone, about 2 to 5 kilometers deep. So just at 2 to 5 kilometers, you'll find that the sunlight cannot penetrate through it, and the dark zone starts over there. Estuarine ecosystem. An estuary is a partly enclosed coastal body of brackish water. What do you mean by brackish water? It is neither fully salty, like the salinity is not 1.025, neither it is fresh water where the salinity is 1. Okay. So you will find that from in between, you will find a salinity which is a mixture of salt water and fresh water and is termed as brackish water. Brackish water with one or more rivers or stream flowing into it and with a free connection to the open sea. So it is receiving water from both sides. Estuaries form a transition zone between river environments and maritime environments and are subject to both marine influence such as tides, waves, and the influx of saline water. The inflows of both seawater and freshwater provide high level of nutrient. Now, it is not concentrated in salinity. So it does, see, let me explain you this, that salt can kill a lot of organisms. I mean, not exactly kill, but not allow some species to flourish over there. Okay, because I don't know how many of you have noticed. If you have a cut in your finger, or if you have some injury in your leg, and if you go into salt water, this salt burns to the open wound, and slowly you will find that after some day it heals faster also. Why is that? What is that process? Because this salt kills the bacteria in that open wound. And if it kills the bacteria, the wound will get healed faster. Okay, the infection will go away and the wound will heal faster. So that's the reason you will find that it will not allow a lot of marine aquatic life to flourish in that, which in turn may not be directly affected by salt, but the microorganisms on which they feed, they get affected. And since these microorganisms are not present there, then what are they going to eat? So inflow of both the salt water and fresh water together will provide very high level of nutrients in both the waters and sediment, making estuaries among the most productive natural habitats in the world. Okay, the picture here is from the Calumet River in California. Estuarine ecosystem characteristics are that water characteristics are periodically changed. Salinity remains highest during the summer because the freshwater supply to dilute it is not there, and lowest during the winter. It is strongly affected by tidal actions. The organisms like euthermal and eurythermal and euryhaline present in estuaries show a wide range of tolerance to temperatures and salinity. So these ones which are tough, they have a lot of tolerance and they can be brought up into the harsh saline water with high temperatures, then those survive in these areas. So that's where we conclude the ecosystem module. Okay, any questions or doubts you have, you can ask me now.
No, sir, no question.
Okay. We will go for the
Excuse me, sir.
attendance. Yes, good.
Sir, in exam, would we get map work also, like where is this desert or like to locate?
Yes, yes, you can get. It is again not very commonly found because in the past question papers there are very few. One question I have come across in the past question paper, but it cannot be ruled out.
Okay, sir.
Third of March. No?